All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Behind the Human. I'm your host, Mark Champagne, and it's my job to unpack the stories and mental fitness practices of people living at the top of their game, personally and professionally. Today, we have a 2-for-1 special on the show. 2 lovely ladies doing some awesome work in this world. We've got Allison, who was diagnosed with PCOS at a young age. She removed all toxic chemicals from her environment and began eating real whole foods, which resulted in her symptoms completely disappearing. Her healing journey inspired her to co-found Branch Basics to help others experience how to truly thrive in their health. And we've got Kelly. Kelly is an advocate for using food as medicine and advocates that switching to a pure, natural lifestyle is powerful even for those who consider themselves healthy. Like that, well said. Through co-founding Branch Basics, she experienced just how much our everyday choices impact our quality of life and is passionate about helping educate others. Such an honor to have the 2 of you on the show. Welcome. As of today, who are you?
Oh, wow. I don't think I would have forgotten
That's typically the response.
I was like, hey, and what else? Well, and I love that it's followed, from what you just said about we're living at the top of our game. So like, I kind of really perform here. No, I'm just kidding. As you said that you're introing this episode, I thought, thank God that there is a 2-for here, because I think without Kelly, and Kelly could probably say the same thing about me, we definitely help each other get to the top of our game, because life is very chaotic as moms, and just kind of being in it and having those double roles is hard, running a company, being moms, etc. So who are we? I mean, I'll go first and say the most important thing in my entire life is my faith. So that is number one. Thank God that I don't believe that I am my highest power, because I do not know what I would do. I would have surrendered already. So I believe in a higher power. For me, that's Jesus. So that's number one. And then I'm a mom, even before all of this. And the reason I'm even on this podcast, you would not have asked me on this podcast if I was just a mom, but that is really who I am. That's the most important thing to me. I'm growing my 4th baby right now in my belly. But I will say it feels like our very first baby is Branch Basics. So it almost, even though we started the company, almost a decade and a half ago, feels like the passion, for which like really ignited the original motive to even begin the company, like is even stronger now, because we're the sickest nation and we have the most toxic products, and yet we just keep educating ourselves. We have access to all this amazing information, but people are so confused. And so that's what we want to do. We want to just break through the clutter, empower people, help people understand how to vet their own products, what to believe, what not to believe, from as unbiased of a standpoint as possible. So,
well said, Kelly.
Yes, love that, Al. It's funny you said that, Al, about your faith, because I mean, just being totally transparent here, the first thing that you said first thing that came to my mind when you said that was, I'm a child of God. Like that's my identity for me. And then another identity that I sometimes struggle with, but I am leaning into and learning the multiple meanings or the multiple ways this can look, is that I'm a leader. And I've always questioned myself being a leader. I've never thought of myself being a leader. But I'm realizing that being a leader doesn't just have to mean like the one that's, just taking charge of everything and super confident in every situation and all of that. But I can lead by example. I can lead by, just what I'm passionate about. And so I am really trying to, just step into that, owning that role of being a leader. And that's in this season, that's where I'm at.
I love that.
What, Kelly, I'd love to continue on that one, because I think there can be, maybe judgment's not the right word, but just these kind of preconceived notions. If you think about, I'm speaking to 2 entrepreneurs running and leading a company, that like you're just wired and built with all of the characteristics that, you think about in a business book, let's just say, around running a company, which As crazy as that sounds, just even hearing it, I think we believe that in some capacity. So first of all, thank you for sharing that you are a human and, have certain, things that you're working on as well. I would love just to know for the listeners and myself, frankly, from your mind, like what's helped you step into being a leader or not feeling maybe that imposter syndrome or whatever that is coming up. Has there been any kind of journaling flows or questions or practices?
I think like what you had just said about, our cultural beliefs of a leader are like, I had that for a long time, and I would always say for years, I'm not a leader. I didn't, we started this company, because we're passionate, but like, I'm not a leader. I don't know how to lead the company. I don't know how to
know what I'm doing. Yeah.
lead a team. I don't know what I'm doing, and finally it's just over time, I've just gotten more confident. And then I guess even, as recent as just this past January, finally have just basically made the decision in my mind to say, like, I am a leader, and leaders can look different in different situations. And like, I am an expert in my own way, and people don't have to agree with everything I say or do things, agree with the way that I do things. Sorry, I can't speak. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a leader, or that doesn't mean that I'm not equipped to be a leader. And I think a good leader is the first one to be self-aware of their weaknesses. And so I'm now comfortable with the fact of believing that a leader doesn't have to have everything figured out and, be on top of their game all the time. So
I love it.
Just kind of, I think it's just been that like mental choice, like, of how I'm going to look at things and believe things.
And Allison, has there been anything I'm sure there's been many things along the journey, of course, but for you that you've had to kind of personally wrestle with around characteristics that are important for, being in the business and so forth?
Yeah. Honestly, I think even just the word influencer, like I still really struggle with that, because I think that it can sound so just pompous and, oh, I'm an influencer. Oh, wait, aren't you okay? I know, and so I would constantly push that word off. Like, we're a brand, really. Kelly and I are not influencers, but in so many ways we are influencers. And I want to be able to own that with confidence and be like, yes, I want to positively influence, the world for, the message that we have, and to avoid the mistakes that I have made as a business person, but mainly just in ignorance with my health and all the suffering that I have gone through. So if I don't confidently say that I'm an influencer, like, how can I share freely and with excitement the information that I feel like God has really imparted on me and my journey has really allowed me to be privy to? So, I think that word alone, like as Kelly says, leader, like I think influencer, and I think like, it still kind of has that stigma with it. You can just like leader, and not everyone wants to be an influencer. This is not necessarily something that we asked for. But like going back to our faith, I'm like, this is definitely part of our story. And like, we can't just shun it, because you're kind of running from your highest potential. And if we're the ones that are trying to decide that, like, that kind of goes against exactly what I just said. Like we kind of submit to what our lives have thrown to us. So,
well, and it's what you said, that word judgment, Mark. I think for a long time, it almost sounded like I would be cocky if I called myself a leader or an influencer, or conceited or whatever, boastful. And so, I think it's like what Allison said. It's just like that frame of reference of seeing this as like, no, I have a positive message to share, and that's not a bad thing, know?
Totally. It is so funny because even, I'm feeling it as well. So when you say the word influencer, it's like,
right.
But it's like you want, in this case, it's the greatest thing possible. And the definition of the word to influence, in this setting, I know I'm biased, of course, but I feel like most would agree. we could use a lot more influence when it comes to our health and understanding, different choices that we can make so that, we just live a thriving, beautiful life. I feel like we all deserve that. And we need
We're all influencers in our own way. I would hope that everyone listening right now that's a mom feels like they are an influencer. Right?
Oh, for sure.
The number one influencer.
For sure. For sure. Why don't we set some context? And maybe I was thinking we could maybe do this through, if you're able to share a couple stories of just either along the journey or frankly, what you were sharing before we hit record around this 10-day stay, of just stories of, I guess you can say, transformation, just to show or provide some context to listeners about what we're talking about when we say, making, intelligent and well-informed decisions when it comes to our health, just to show what's possible. Yeah. Then we can jump into, or we can go from there.
Yeah. Well, and we can go into we can share our stories a little bit too at some point. But, when you read my bio, like the reason why I say, even when you feel like you're healthy, is because I was the healthy one in the origin of our story. Allison, Marilyn, and I came together and I was the healthy one. But all of a sudden, after removing harmful chemicals from my diet and my environment, and the products I was using every day, all of a sudden I'm like, what? I didn't even know I could feel this good. I didn't know I could have this much energy. I didn't know it's possible to have a menstrual cycle without painful cramps or without any cramps at all. And so we just want people to realize that simply just getting these harmful chemicals out of our everyday lives, can really unlock so much potential we don't even know of.
Yeah. And it's like a new normal is possible.
Yes. Right? Yes. And so we just want that for more people. We want more people to know about it, know the possibility. And so we started this project called the 10-Day Stay, where we took people for 10 days to, we actually did this one in Austin, Texas, to a hotel room and a restaurant that only served organic food. And the room, we did a complete overhaul, cleaned it, only in Branch Basics, all fragrance-free, stocked it with fragrance-free organic personal care products, water filter, bedding and towels and clothing that had all been washed in Branch Basics and with organic cotton. And just kind of created this safe bubble. And really, it's just like back to what the world used to look like.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been amazing. The results of people just literally a lifetime of asthma gone after one day. I mean, she used to use her inhaler 6 times a day. Now she hasn't used it since day one of sleeping in an environment free of these harmful chemicals. Sugar addiction and crying every day, been on Prozac for 20 years, now is happier than ever and weaning off of her Prozac. It's just
wild.
Incredible. And didn't ever think she could be free of her sugar addiction, which was like a real addiction. It wasn't just like, oh, she likes to have sweets. She was consumed and addicted to it.
In the end of first kind of addiction.
Okay.
Yeah, had to have it all the time, would have withdrawal reactions if not having it. And by day 5, so it was crazy. Day 1, she was having dreams of cakes and donuts, and she was hallucinating. When she would look at her plate, she would see, her plate of vegetables, organic food. She would see Reese's Buttercups. But by day 5, not even a single craving, not even a thought, not even a craving. Now she craves red cabbage. It's just incredible. And it's not just the fact that the sugar addiction's gone. It's her brain is so much more clear. She used to never be able to read books. She would always have to listen, audio because she just couldn't focus. Now she's just reading books all the time and has more energy, feels so much more confident and happy. It's just amazing what these short few days of being in an environment and eating plain food.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't finish that sentence. Being in an environment that is free of these harmful chemicals can do for you. So we are sharing that on our Instagram right now. We plan to do many more.
Yeah, I'm going to link to all of that. And I said this before we started recording as well. If there's any showrunners or producers, directors, owners of studios, please reach out, because I selfishly feel like this is a show and it's such an important. Well, just look at the examples you shared. I mean, it's so possible.
And those are just like a few of their symptoms.
Yeah.
There's so many other things that change for them as well.
I think what makes it really
go ahead,
unique,
Allie.
well, it's just that you don't have to spend a bunch of money. Like, people think, okay, I'm going to live this clean, healthy, non-toxic life, and I got to go see this functional medicine doctor. Listen, I see a functional medicine doctor. It's great.
Yeah.
I got to buy this really expensive sauna. I got to get this organic mattress. I have to get the best air purifier. Like, but we actually are missing the first and most important step, is that most of these people have yet to really understand the idea of removal. And if we simply just take the toxins out of our homes, out of our diets, out of our personal care products, our cleaning products, like, that alone is getting you so much further than actually bringing in all of these expensive treatments and protocols and all these wonderful things that for sure, but they should be support. They should be supplement. It's like people that just buy a bunch of supplements and they're not changing their diet. I'm like, you get that it's called a supplement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we want to, sometimes I think we want to spend the money and do the things that are the most convenient. Sometimes it's like, no, I don't want to remove this,
Mm-hmm.
but that's where we're going to see the most change happen. That's really getting to the core of the issue. And our bodies are made to heal. Like, they're these incredible healing machines. We have this innate ability to run in the direction of healing. But we just have all these different things we're doing that stand in our way. Marilee always talks about the scab analogy. You wake up with a cut and you irritate it every day. Like, it's never going to heal. But if you just forget about it and don't touch it, and you look down in a few days, it's like totally healed. Your body knows what to do.
Yeah, it's almost a miracle.
It is. Yeah. No, it is. But it's like with the candles and the cleaners and the, Splenda. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Whatever it is, we are continuing to scratch these deep-seated issues that we feel like, oh, well, my mom had that, or my whole family has that, or everyone else around me has that. No, we need to look within and realize that we can live at a higher potential. Most of us that are listening right now.
Well, and the thing I've noticed too, and because my wife and I and our family have been through a journey, a similar journey to the two of you, and especially my wife, Allison. I mean, she PCOS as well, and it was kind of there's no first of all, I feel like no one knows what that is for what in terms of the medical community, and surprise, she doesn't have any symptoms of that anymore after just making changes in the home. And I think our second, now 2-year-old, is also a result of that as well. So that was a really challenging fertility journey. But what I wanted to say though is, and then we can get into what we can do, of course, and help people guide along some early questions or starting points. But before that, I mean, what I've noticed is you're so once you make some of these changes, if that old environment comes in any capacity, and I'm thinking of a specific example, whenever my mother visits, we're still working on her, she'll bring her Zest bar soap, and it smells like the house is like a perfume department store. I'm like, I can't do it. You get it out. And it's just in the washroom.
The HVAC system that's
I know. It's wild.
It's wild. Right? So anyway, I had to share that because it's just, you become which is great in the sense that it's a reminder of, oh, this is, we had a new normal as well. And you just, you get adjusted to that. So
Marilee always says it's called maladaptation. We can adapt, but just not in the right way. We want to adapt in the right direction.
Yeah, totally. So how do we start though? So for the people that are, listening and are like, yeah, I know, I've always wanted to make some changes, but it seems, and I get it, it can feel so overwhelming if you think of the entire environment, because unfortunately, we're just surrounded by chemicals and things that are just not good for us right across the board. So how do you advise people to start?
Well, that's why we started with cleaning. And that's why we have a cleaning product company, because cleaning products are some of the most toxic products we keep in our home and that we use on a regular basis. And so just changing your cleaning products alone, and sorry, I shouldn't say changing. I mean, like getting out, swapping, like getting the other ones out of your house, not just putting a green, non-toxic, natural cleaner next to the other ones.
No,
But
out.
replacing those can do wonders for your indoor air quality, and better air means better health. And I mean, just once you start there, then like you're saying, you start to kind of go into other products, or you start to realize like, oh, scented trash bags,
It's everywhere.
soaps and my shampoo, and things like that. The things that you use on a regular basis and that impact your indoor air the most, I think are the easiest places to start, because of course food is a huge one, but you're having to think about that multiple times a day, every day. But with these products, it's like once you get them out, they're out, once you replace them with clean ones. And we have a course called the Toss the Toxins course, where we take people category by category, pesticides, cleaning products, laundry products, fragrance products, plastics, water, through all the different options, but you can do it at your own pace, and you can go in whatever order you want. So I think it's, different for everyone, but of course our dream is for people just to not get overwhelmed by the fact of feeling like they have to replace all this stuff, and literally just kind of getting it all out and putting it in a box, the stuff that is not 100% clean, and just getting it out of your environment, and then slowly finding replacements for the things that you need. Because one, you'll find that a lot of the stuff is just there and you don't even need to replace it, because it's just
not sitting on the shelf. Yeah.
But then too, you can like get stuff over time. You don't have to have it all just sitting in your house while you wait.
I feel like we can do this on this show. We can go to the woo-woo side, no problem with this audience. But I feel when you said that, kind of put everything in a box and get it out of the house, it kind of, what came to mind, or the link, was kind of how you opened the who are you question around just like choosing to be a leader and so forth. Like in this case, we can choose, like, this is the next chapter. Like, it's time I release all of the past history without judgment. I want to step into kind of the new me, the new environment for me, my family, loved ones, and so forth. And like almost just like take a moment, right? Slow down a little bit and let that go. And then just take some steps.
And what you just said is so key. Slow down. I think we're just going through the motions of life so fast that we just don't even stop to really think about how all the stuff we bring into our home impacts us. And so just taking a moment to slow down and just even think about that is key.
What kind of questions have you asked? I'm going to go back to maybe the 10-day stay, or use whatever examples you like, but what kind of questions did you ask those participants to like really land with, okay, I know if like they're going to want to do this for X or whatever it is. Like, well, how did you start with them?
You mean in terms of choosing which ones we used, or in terms of like symptoms?
In terms of getting them interested, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, we have, I don't know, probably 300 people have said, when's the next one? When's the next one? So I think people knowing our stories and just knowing just what Toxing the Toxins has done in our lives and in the lives of so many of our customers. I mean, in some ways you go through our DMs and you're like, are you a cleaning product company, or are y'all like a health platform advocate? I mean, it's crazy the amount of people that are coming and they're like, oh my gosh, my husband's asthma, or my kid's behavioral issue, or it's just, or eczema, headaches. I mean, you name it. And so that's really like the core of who we are, and so we've definitely built this community of people who are excited to go all in. So, the first participant, for instance, was actually my nanny, who's now she's like an assistant for Branch Basics. She helps me create content. She's amazing, but 25 and just sick of feeling bad, sick of her joints aching in her 20s, sick of extreme celiac symptoms, sick of not being able to go up a flight of stairs without feeling like she has shortness of breath. Sick of acne, sick of not being able to lose weight, and all these things that we just think, oh, well, I guess I just have to live with this.
Yeah.
And, she did have the opportunity to live like in our homes basically and watch just the way that I live and the way that I feel and knowing my story. And so she was like, please, when do we start? And again, on day 3 or 4, I mean, she's climbing 4 or 5 flights of stairs. She's now running 3 or 4 miles. She feels nothing. Her skin's totally cleared. She has tons of energy. She doesn't have any body aches whatsoever. So
when you say she feels nothing, I want to clarify. She, since the age of 14, had like extreme joint pain and like had seen doctors and specialists around. So it's like for her, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
So, I think what it is, Mark, is it like people, you have to be desperate enough. You have to want something enough to where you have this sugar addiction or you have the way that you've eaten or the products you've used your entire life, but like you just don't care anymore because you feel badly enough or you feel enough hatred towards your symptoms. And you're like, is there really a way that I can get rid of these? And wait, you're saying 10 days? Like, are you serious? You know? So I think it's pretty attractive for a lot of people.
Yeah. I love it because I feel like we're in a lot of these problems because we're so impatient and we want back to the supplements. Yeah, I'm just going to go buy the supplements and that's going to sort out like my arthritis or something like that. But in a way, this is one of the first times that I've seen like you're kind of solving for that impatience in a way, right? Because people are seeing, which is great because there's usually not a solution like that. Usually it's just like really hard. I'm not saying that it's not challenging, but right.
Well, and no, I'm so glad you said that because that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. Because Marilee, our third co-founder, has worked for years with chemically sensitive clients and seen that the quickest way to healing, without a doubt, is just to try and get into a safe, clean environment and like just removing all these harmful chemicals. And it's hard for people who have been using fragrant laundry detergent and dryer sheets and candles and all this stuff for years to be able to, do that in one day. It's hard to get rid of those fragrances. It's hard to get rid of, pesticide residues around your home, whatever. And so to be able to completely divorce people from those, exposures, you get the picture to see how quickly actually these changes can be done, can impact the body. And then our hope is, for them to be motivated when they get back home to really like continue making all those changes. But it's like, we have to create this little environment so that you can see how quickly this actually can happen. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to get a little bit of a taste of what's possible. And then as a human, you have the motivation, right? Which is great.
And in our course, one of our categories is emotions. And so during this 10-day stay, we not only, focus on just the chemicals, but also we had people journaling and doing expressive writing and, just a lot of movement and brain activation and stuff. And so it's just incredible what can happen. I just can't say it enough, like in just 10 days. And honestly, even in less than 10 days, like I said, a lot of these symptoms were after day 1 and after day 5.
I'm glad you brought up the emotions and the journaling. I mean, you're definitely speaking the language of the audience over here, as you know, because I wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to almost ask, I was going to frame it in like, how do we, like, what's the cleanup in our internal environment that the two of you either have personally experienced or, please go deeper on the course about like how you lead people through, because it's all connected, of course, right? Like we can't, deal with this stuff separately. It's a package deal.
I have a whole module on emotions because in your pantry, you can clean underneath your counters. You'd fire the pesticide guy, but like if you're doing this with a bunch of stress and anxiety, which I'm not going to lie, I battle stress. I found it the other day, by the way, there's a huge difference between anxiety and stress. I took this extensive test and this woman was like, you barely have any anxiety, but you're very stressed. I was like, I'm Googling this. Like, yeah, but the point is you can do all these things. And if you're doing it in a, like with this kind of impetus of fear, and like that's your driver, like that is so toxic as well. And so, yes, slowing down and deciding like what excites you the most. Like for a lot of people, it is to not go to the food thing first because we have that emotional attachment. But gosh, some people are so ready to change their diets, but like, do not take away my dryer sheets. You know, I mean, it's just
Okay,
really,
interesting.
it's really funny. There's a lot of emotional attachment to trigger. Oh, candles, yes, don't touch my candles. And I will fight back with them on that. I'm like, I promise this is the easy part.
Yeah.
But yeah, the emotions that's huge, and finding ways and outlets to get those out, journaling, relaxation response, things that Marilee has used for decades when working with clients. That we don't realize just these simple practices make such a difference. And I think that's kind of the whole message that we're trying to get across here. Like, go back to basics.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything extreme. Removal, journaling, breathing, free medicine, opening the window, you know. So it's definitely a message of hope and encouragement, and not wanting anyone that's listening or that would take our course to ever feel overwhelmed, because it's really an opportunity.
Well, and I think that's where the basics comes in, because that just lightens the situation a little bit, right? Just take a pause and think about, I mean, I love the language. It seems like you always start, or you typically start with the air, and just like think about what keeps us alive, right? Like, I need water, I need to breathe, I need shelter of some sort, and I need to get outside, like, and move, like, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Like, we don't need to go and like train for a marathon. I mean, just start by moving the body a little bit, for when it comes to physical exercise. And I feel like it's the same
actually
principle
really
here.
just common sense.
Yeah.
It's like, really, we're just trying to exactly do what you're saying, is like not overcomplicate, just kind of clean up, clean air, food, water, and products.
Yeah.
So, and thinking, clean thinking. And so, I think that a big part of the transformation just goes back to just making that choice. And like, we have a choice of like whether we're going to let like all the negative thinking and past trauma and stuff, consume us and rule us, or like say no to all of that and stop those thoughts when they come in, and do the work to heal from the past trauma. I couldn't agree more that it all goes hand in hand with all this stuff. And so our thought really is, when you can remove the stressors, the chemicals from the products and the food, that really allows you to get to a place where it's easier to address the emotional stuff. Because we don't realize how much these chemicals impact our mood and our behavior and our hormones. And so when we're battling all that and having to, work to detoxify all that, it's like so much harder to actually get to the real emotional work, you know?
Yeah, because we're numbing ourselves kind of along the way with all these emotions, and then
we're fighting against all the things that are messing with our brain.
Yeah. So, what are some practices for the two of you personally that have been helpful in times where stress is high? I mean, Allison, I know you're in a period like that, so this might be a nice reminder of the practices that will be helpful for you for the next 10 days. But like, what are those non-negotiables that keep your mind clear and healthy?
I mean, for me, sleep is king. Just like, if I am already stressed and I'm already teetering, and then like I'm at 5 or less hours of sleep, like, you can pretty much just call it quits for me.
Yeah.
I'm just irritated toward myself, towards my husband, toward my kids. No one can do anything right. I'm just in a bad mood. So really prioritizing sleep, even if I don't feel like I have the time. And that just changes everything for me. And just eating healthy. Like, stress is one of those periods where you really just want to like eat out or order in. or grab some carbs and like, you know, you can even do it in a healthy way. Like I've been periods where I'm just like, I'm just going to have another avocado toast for this meal or like grab a like health bar. Like it just doesn't do the trick. I mean, the more that I take the time to eat a balanced meal to actually like after this podcast, like I'm going to go make myself a salad and it's probably going to take me 14 minutes to do it. No, it won't. But I mean, and I'll probably stuff it down my face. But the point is like, I'm going to get myself like the fuel that I need with sleep and good water and good food and getting outside. And like last night, Kelly can attest to this. It was like, I don't know, 6 or something. We were working on what we were going to put up on Instagram. And like, we had kind of have this like chain going of our group. I was like, my phone's going on an airplane. I'm going to go sit on the floor. And I played with my kids and like everything in me, like didn't actually want to play with my kids. I'll be honest. Like I just had so many things going on. Like the house is a wreck. I needed to get back to my realtor and I wanted to text Kelly back. But I just like shut down, shut off, and like did something mindless with my children and like really was intentional about like looking in their eyes and like seeing their laughter and their simplicity and their joy. And that is contagious, you know, just like taking a minute to hug them and to hold them and can just ground me so quickly. So.
They really are a gift. Like if whenever you need that hit of presence, right? To take a look at your kids. I mean, I had a similar experience last night with my 7-year-old is really into these tech deck finger skateboards, which are like running ravishly through his school. So we have so many of these things and just sat on the floor and felt like I was a kid for, you know, a few minutes. And it's just so freeing. So freeing. What about you, Kelly? What works for you?
Yes. Sleep definitely does. I have not been the best about that the last few nights.
I'm getting like I'm like, you're not sleeping enough.
But also just we do a lot of dance parties in our house.
Oh, I love it.
Singing and dancing and being silly and you know, singing actually activates the vagus nerve, which helps put you into parasympathetic mode. So I think there's definitely something to that. And let's see, grounding. I love just going outside and feeling the grass and the, you know, the earth on my bare feet and the sun on my face. Like, actually 2 days ago, Allison, we were on a call and I was like, I'm going to go take this call outside because I needed that. And it was so good. So things like that are simple and just little things.
Simple works.
Yeah.
Right. Simple works. And also, I think, especially even just going outside, taking the call, like there's a lot of people that work from home, myself included. I mean, there are simple little ways to integrate, you know, what I would call either mental fitness or just rituals and routines that just support the person that you're striving to become or striving to model for, whether that's for yourself and others, right? We just need to take some time to think about those things. And remind ourselves, because as you know, we step out into the world after this nice little container that we have, and it's like we're hit with everything. We're hit essentially with the opposite of everything that we're talking about. Right. So it's like, okay, well, let's just acknowledge that. I mean, I wish that wasn't the case, and we're doing everything possible to shift that. But right now, that's the reality. So then we know that, and let's put the practices in place. And you know, just set up our tools.
Yeah. And I have no shame about not being the most responsive texter and emailer and whatever.
Allison's shaking her head.
Because I just am like, I'm sorry. When in history have we been expected to be moms, to be wives, to be daughters, be friends, and to like be glued to our text messages, emails, Slack messages, group me messages? You know, I mean, the list goes on. It's like, it's not possible.
Kelly's not good at the sleep thing. I am not good at the not getting back to people. Like, and my husband calls me out on this too. He's like, why does that person own you? Like, we're in the middle of a conversation and yet they can interrupt and you have to respond. Or like by the end of the day, you get back to 48 people and Kelly can just like let it go. She does respond to me. So that's not why I'm not shaking my head. I am on her top 3, I think. But it's true, Kelly, that's so good is setting those boundaries and like just not what other people think, because if you do, you're going to put at jeopardy your husband, your marriage, your kids. Like something else is going to give,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I was talking to a fellow. Well, so I do a hybrid model with my school where it's part homeschool, part school.
Okay.
And I was talking to a mom of a student there, and she apologized for, getting back to me a day or two later. And I told her, I said, please don't ever apologize for that. I know you are with your kids or you've got other things going on. Like, no offense taken. And she was like, thank you so much. Like, yeah, that's true that, so I think just feeling that freedom and again, going back to that perspective and mind choice of saying like, I'm not, letting people down or I'm not failing but I'm making boundaries and, that's okay.
When people land into your ecosystem, whether that's the socials or your course or really anything, your website and your products, how do you want people to feel?
Empowered.
Hopeful. Yeah, empowered and hopeful.
Never stressed, discouraged, judged.
It's beautiful. It's refreshing. Feels refreshing.
Because of what we share, it can sometimes come across to some people as fear, because we're talking about toxins and, things that cause harm. But we really, really try to be intentional about putting everything out in a positive way. So that and driving home that we're sharing this so that we can become aware and we can actually improve our lives, not because we want to drive home fear, and so
it's education.
My hope is that people feel that when they come to our page.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that because it's either we want to know or we know and we're just pretending we don't know, these situations when it comes to, our environments and whatnot, right? Which is almost worse, right? I get it. Like it doesn't feel right. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel, and it's not, the judgment is so important. For everyone listening, and this goes with my work as well around mental fitness. And cause I leave people with usually some really big life questions but answer those from a place of, you're just gathering data and information so we can make subtle shifts, right? So it's not about like, oh, I'm poisoning my family because I've been using Zest soap or something like that, right? Which, you are, but just... but, right?
I will stop now that I know.
Exactly. But just taking in the information. And I think, taking the steps that feel most right for you to start the journey. And then you don't typically turn back.
Letting go of any guilt or shame. There's no condemnation in those things. I grew up using all that stuff. I didn't know. Marilee, our co-founder, she was painting her son's nursery and after and had the bug man come spray, his carpet in his room when she was going into labor. About to go into labor. And actually, I think she thinks it kind of induced early labor. But my point is, she didn't know. She wasn't always, practicing what we now preach. And there's no shame or guilt in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, where can people find out more about all of your lovely work? And of course, the course, I feel like that's such an easy and beautiful, accessible entry point to get into asking some good questions and making some shifts and so forth. And then, of course, where people can stay tuned to the big announcement whenever you release that beautiful Netflix show that I'm putting out into the universe here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything's at Branch Basics. We kind of cornered the market.
Okay.
Basics.com, at Branch Basics, info at Branch Basics. And we actually do receive every message. They are channeled through our incredible little customer service team who cares a lot. So if there's anything that you want to ask Kelly or myself specifically, we will get it.
Amazing.
The course is just on our website, but it'll actually take you to toxins.com, so you can get to it either way. And I just want to note that there are transcripts, like all the scripts are on there. So you can print out if you don't want to, watch, if you'd rather just get in bed at night and take a highlighter or make notes or something like that.
I like
or go
that.
outside and Wi-Fi free. You can do that as well.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's great. Well, I want to thank you both, of course, for making some time to come on the show. But I mean, a higher thank you for just being exceptional, awesome humans, just putting, a lot of energy and attention into such important work to, help so many people. I mean, the ripple effect of what you're doing is exponential, and it's a real honor to hold space for this conversation and do my small part in blasting out the message. But thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We're so honored. This was so fun. I don't know if my blood pressure or calmness ever been this high on a podcast. Your voice, I'm like, yeah.
I know. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. So calming.
I love it.
That lands straight in the heart. Thank you.
Yes. It definitely comes off. And, it's funny because I think one of the things we've been trying to do is just not focus so much on trying to tell people what to do, but just be ourselves and do it. And hopefully they'll see it and they'll want to jump on board.
Yeah. I
and
like
I feel
that
like
strategy.
you're very much, a vision for what you talk about. So it's working.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. Until next time.